Okay, so welcome to our second interview debate in our Pepper Present series. In this edition, we are going to discuss the change in consumer behaviour, what it means for borrowers, and what it means for the intermediary market as a whole. I'm delighted to be joined by the one and only mortgage guru, Danny Belton, Head of Lender Relationships at Legal and General Mortgage Club. Hi, Danny. Thank you very much for joining us today.
That's a hell of an introduction. Thank you very much.
I know. Well, you are the mortgage guru. Come on, let's face it.
Very kind.
So
Very
we're
kind.
delighted. Thank you very much for coming on today. So can I ask, how have you seen consumer behaviour and spending change during lockdown?
I think well, lockdown's been a really interesting time for many of us for many reasons. Some good, some not so good. The fact is, we've not been able to go anywhere. We've not been able to go to our local pubs, restaurants, go and visit friends, family. So our spending habits have naturally changed as a result of that. Even to get takeaways has not been as easy as it used to be. And so I think for a lot of people, they've taken the opportunity to save money. Some have cleared existing debt or made inroads. Some have actually saved for deposits and found ways to do that. I think that some have actually sort of now realised that it is possible to save money in the environment, and will actually return to some of the things that they used to do, some of the behaviours and cultures that we've seen in a pre-lockdown environment. I myself, I very much used to go out for dinner quite a lot and things, and really enjoy that, and go to the gym on a regular basis. Actually, the world's changed, and perhaps I'm not going to go and do so much of that in the future. I'll still enjoy it, and we'll go back to it. But actually, there's a lot more to enjoy. Spending a lot more time with friends and family, and just catching up with them. I think the whole lockdown has brought people closer together. So the need to go and spend as much money as we have before is probably isn't there, because we've now got other ideals and enjoyment in life through other things now that have served us well. So I think consumer spending has definitely changed. I think we've obviously seen a lot of people buy certain essential things, maybe change some of their spending habits as to what they buy, probably questioned what they used to buy in the past. Is it relative? Is it something that they should have done before? There's probably been a take up now on people using Amazon and other companies like that to have deliveries made, but probably more of a conscious decision to buy rather than just, I need to buy it just because. I think a lot of people have spent money on their homes, taking the opportunity to improve their homes, whether it be decorating, whether it be doing something in the garden, whether it be building an extension, things like that. They have made those sort of conscious decisions, and I think they've just been in a better place to look at their finances and decide what it is they now want, what they can do going forward. Because, to have 3 or 4 month period where you're not spending what you were has probably really opened the door to looking at your current situation, your future, what you generally want, and to make better decisions now, or get these jobs done that I've always wanted to do that, but I've either never had the money or never really had the opportunity to do. You're now putting those at the forefront, and therefore our habits have definitely changed as a result.
No, that's brilliant. No, and I completely agree. I know my life way has changed. So yeah, no, very insightful. So how do you anticipate this behaviour shifting as the country continues to open up again into a new normal?
I think people will take stock of where they're at. I don't think there's going to be a mass rush back to bars and restaurants. I have been out myself, and a number of sort of pubs and things are still relatively empty. I think there's a degree of caution around the country still about, will we get a second wave, will we not? And I think there are other areas of life that are focusing. I think the whole issue of payment holidays has been really interesting. We saw a big swathe of customers actually apply for payment holidays, significant numbers. Some lenders were talking about a third of their back book taking payment holidays, some more than that. But actually, as that holiday has now regressed, and those people are probably using the money quite wisely, but undoubtedly there were some people in trouble. Probably only 15 to 20% of people that took a payment holiday actually needed it. But so we still have to manage those that are in some sort of financial difficulty or financial strain, because it's not just about saving money on not being able to pay your mortgage. It's actually looking at the work situation. Excuse me, a number of people furloughed. There's still concern across lenders as to what will happen come October when the furlough scheme ends. What will that do to the unemployment numbers? Well, I think everybody's agreed the unemployment numbers will go up, but to what extent? Nobody's really clear about that. I think the vast majority of people on furlough are probably in the age range of 17 to 24. so probably not actually troubling us from a mortgage point of view. Yet there will be some people that have mortgages that may be in some difficulty, and some people that may be thinking of trading up or becoming first-time buyers maybe have to think differently for now. So there is going to be a subtle shift, but I think, you know, there are lots of lessons learned through lockdown. A lot of people have taken a look at themselves. A lot of people have taken a look at their financial situation. A lot of people have taken a look at their family situation, and I don't think that we will en masse return to the habits that we had in a pre-lockdown environment. I think this has probably shaken a few people. I think there's a lot of skepticism as sort of way forward. And certainly, you know, we're now seeing around Europe second sort of spikes coming or increases and things. The whole travel industry knows in a difficult place. You know, people are not necessarily buying holidays. Some are trying to get away, but you know, I've had 2 cancelled. I'm sure, you know, others that are listening to this will have had 1 or 2 or more cancelled, and the future looks difficult to get away. The staycation, is that cheaper? Is it more expensive? How does that work? So we are generally thinking differently as a nation, and I think that will continue. I generally think that when we get to October time now, we will turn our heating on. What's going to happen? Well, traditionally we will get coughs and colds. We're going to be worried about that.
Yes,
You
we
know, we
are.
don't want to go and infect other people and things like that. Have we got COVID? Have we not got COVID? All of those sort of things will be at the forefront of our minds. And again, that will maintain the sort of habits that we are forming from a spending point of view now, as we still stay within our home environment for however long. But we will need to get out and do things, and I think people are taking the time to get out for a walk, to do more exercise, you know, to do things, but more in a structured way. But they're not necessarily going back to spending the money that they were. So I do think, from an economy point of view, yeah, the shops need money. We need retail. The government are trying to do things. The government are trying to get people back into restaurants. You can see why they're trying to do that, and some people definitely take advantage of that. But I'm not convinced that people will go back to wholesale spending like they may have done before.
No, I completely agree. So how do you think this will impact, obviously, people are saving money, as you said, more, but how do you think this will impact, therefore, customer affordability, and what changes in behaviour should brokers look out for?
I mean, that's a really, really difficult question, Caroline. I mean, affordability is obviously difficult. Clearly, if people have saved money and they've got bigger deposits, then that's got to help affordability. If they are then comfortable in living more within their means, then clearly they can actually help their own affordability that way. If they've cleared debt, if they're more conscious of what their spending has been, maybe they've taken the time to review their utility bills, their gym membership, their you know, do they buy fillet steak for the dog as Gary, if it's sort of a normal dog food, things like that. You know, all of those things will come to the fore, and people, I think, are generally reassessing what they are. I think for a lot of customers, though, there's a real peak of interest, certainly around the stamp duty changes. What does that actually mean? But also there is a number of people that are genuinely worried about their next mortgage payment and what can happen. And this is where advisors are really going to be able to help. You know, the value of advice has never been stronger, in my opinion, than it is now. We've talked about it for a long time, but customers need to make absolutely informed decisions. They need to be able to speak to brokers and advisors to really understand what is happening in the mortgage market. What are their absolute options? What could be done to actually save them some money if they just want to remortgage? But actually, we've seen a lot of people that, you know, through lockdown, the whole talk about families living together, those 20-somethings been living with mum and dad and now formed a greater relationship with aunts, uncles, grandparents, but realise, actually, I can't live here anymore. I need my own space. They're finding ways to get out to the market. First-time buyer activity is rapidly increasing, but even second-time buyers, because they've realised they're in a home that a couple bought together, and now they have 2 or 3 children on top of that. It's just not big enough. So what do? Do they extend? Do they actually look for another property? We've seen, you know, the estate agents actually overrun with inquiries and, you know, amount of viewings on properties. It's the inquiry levels are absolutely huge. So it tells me that the demand and the need for consumers is huge, but they absolutely need advice. And if you think about it, certain areas of our market have been really subdued, specialist lending being one. You know, thankfully that's now really coming back. You know, Pepper, you've come back, you know, you've got your buy-to-let criteria back out there. You know, you're almost back at full strength, as it were, and other lenders are coming, and we know that as well documented in the press. You know, Kensington got their securitization away, Vida are coming back, you know, things like that. It bodes well for the market. But these are lenders that customers don't know anything about. They don't understand the specialist lending market because all they know is the high street, because they are names that are familiar. And again, this is, you know, a lot of people may have missed payments through the lockdown period and not really understood their actions. So, you know, if they've gone to a lender and just decided to cancel their direct debit because that's what they thought they had to do for a payment holiday, the high street may not be so understanding of that, but specialist lenders will. because they can actually see that wider circumstance. So the value and the need for advice is just huge. And we at Legal in General are very much in the consumer press now, talking about the need to actually let them know that market sectors are very much open for business. Certainly buy-to-let world, the amount of first-time buyers, first-time landlords coming out because they see the investment opportunity rather than buy for themselves, actually want to just get a property of some form. They may have been rental accommodation that's actually working for them, but they want to buy something else. These are people that have no knowledge or necessary experience, so they definitely need the help. And we do see that this creates opportunity. So advisors have really got to be on the front foot, be on their A game here to make consumers aware that they're there, that they are open for business, even if it's just for a conversation. If you can sow the seed now and have that conversation that may lead to business 6 months, a year down the line, it may not necessarily be now, just because of once the consumer's understood what the circumstances are, what the needs are that they need to save up for, what does deposit actually look like, what are the government schemes, what will happen when Help to Buy runs out, what does a broker know to sort of get the customer mind thinking, if they've got a 5% deposit, is that enough? Could they use mum and dad to get to that 10 to 15% deposit, because we know we've got loans in those areas? What does shared ownership look like? There's so many areas that the customer is not going to be able to understand, but brokers and advisors as industry experts, mortgage experts, are absolutely there to help. And it's not just about dealing with the new customers. What are we doing on our back book? How many brokers have spoken to customers or dropped them a line just to say, hi, how are you? Or just, is there any help I can give you? Are you coping financially? Or are you not? I just want to check on your well-being. I know a lot of brokers have, but also a lot of brokers seem to close down over lockdown, because they weren't seeing the customer numbers. Actually, could have been a really interesting period of activity.
Well, we carried out research and we found that 44% of our customers, for example, would actually have originally approached a broker, and the remaining would actually go to family and friends because they're just too scared or just nervous to actually pick up the phone to a specialist. So, but also I'd also say that if there's any advice, is making sure a broker updates their website as well, because giving a customer the awareness that actually they can help through COVID and what services they can offer. But you're absolutely right, their role is absolutely vital. So how would you say is technology changing consumer behaviour, and do you think it's helping or hindering brokers?
I think it's a help. I mean, the technology is here to stay. We've been talking about this for years, that there is a progression on technology. Some of us, the world of mortgages is we do it the way we do it because that's the way we've always done it. We've seen a lot of new players come in to try and disturb the way we think. First one was Habito when they came out, of course, to stir about robo-advice and things like that. Okay, hasn't happened and things, but it got us to think differently. And we as an industry have started to embrace technology more, mainly to do the heavy lifting, which is really, really important. And there's still a long way to go on that. But I think through lockdown, what is really evident is that people couldn't go to shops. They were frightened to go to shops or do things. So what they did, they started ordering online. For those people that had never had a home delivery on their weekly shop, they started to do that. For those that had never really bought anything from Amazon, they really did that. And what was interesting is that Amazon, we all typically use it and go, right, if it's coming next day. And if it's not here next day, we get really fed up and cross about it. But actually, we became accepting that it was taking a week to get your delivery because we understood the change. And that's been really interesting. So I think for many consumers, they've used that. They've used Zoom, Skype, whatever else to stay in contact with friends and family. And these things are now becoming more familiar. Yes, they still want to see people face to face, and we've seen as lockdown has eased, more and more people have been out and about meeting friends and family and rekindling those connections in the way that they want to. But I'm sure that for long distance friends or people that you don't see on a regular basis, there's been a massive opportunity to stay in touch with people and actually reconnect with a lot of people you may not have spoken to 2 or 3 years ago. There is now absolutely no excuse for anybody to turn around and say, I never hear from so-and-so. We've got the technologies to do it ourselves, make the first move. And therefore, I think customers have been sitting at home going, well, actually, okay, I'm doing some shopping, I'm contacting my friends, here's the internet, I've got a spare day rather than an hour or so here and there. Let's have a look at other things. Let's have a look at holidays. Let's have a look at houses, flats, cars, you name it. So they are becoming more familiar with what the web actually offers. And therefore, they are searching out people's websites. As you say, if it's not up to date, it's not accurate, then you're going to be a bit out of place.
Yeah.
But I don't see that changing. Why does a customer actually want to go and spend 2 or 3 hours in somebody's office to go through a mortgage when he can do it over the phone? Why do they want to have to root around their cupboards to dig out their passport and whatever else for ID and V when there are proper systems out there that are absolutely top class to actually do that for us? Why are we going to deliver documents from A to B? We're not going to do this anymore.
No.
You know, we've got to move forward. So the value of face-to-face is absolutely there. I still believe that, but actually face-to-face in this environment is becoming more and more acceptable.
Yes,
you can still see me. We're all still smiling. Everybody's fine. Sometimes for a brand new relationship, you do need to meet, but actually our customers comfortable or they're not. And if we're in a position that actually we are concerned or worried about what the implications may be by bringing someone new into our house or whatever else, then we will continue to use this technology to do that. So I think that we have to become more familiar. We have to be more accepting that this is technology we're using, but we also have to use some of the technology we've been talking about for a long time to do the heavy lifting, to do the relative checks and gather the relative bits of information, so that that speeds up the process, because ultimately speed is still what we want. And now that Amazon are back to one-day delivery, then clearly that's what consumers want to be. But we just have to be better at it. Does the CRM system you're using, Mr. Mirakian, actually work to the level you want it to? Does it actually flag to you when your customers' deals are coming to an end or not? Or are you just doing it based on when the customer comes to you? How are you using technology to communicate with your customer, with your Facebook group, with whatever, to let them know that the world is changing, evolving, and things like that? It should be just a click of a button just to get some information out there, rather than have to write pages of stuff and mail things out and things. So I agree, a personal touch is great, but come on, we have to use technology more, stay closer to people, because consumers are moving that way. And if we don't follow suit, then we will be left behind. Lenders are going to start contacting customers directly through these mediums as well. They've been doing it for a long time, and us as intermediaries don't like it when lenders contact us. Now, a number of lenders have to because of the regulatory responsibility, and I know that, but actually we can be so much more on the front foot to actually say, you're going to get this letter, it's coming through, I am your market expert because I'm sending you information, I'm keeping you up to date, the click of a button, and maybe having an additional conversation here and there, or even just drop them a message via one of the social media lines or whatever else, just hi, how are you? That will enable us to stay closer to our consumers for a long time to come, and that's what's important. I think the other key thing to mention here is we are going to see a lot of the younger generation come out of the woodwork now, just because the first time buyer activity that we're seeing on. These are new customers to market. We have to harness those now, because these are the customers we'll be looking after for the next 20, 30, 40 years. And actually, if we don't communicate with them now on their level in the way they want to do, we potentially run the risk of actually losing them. And we do not want to be doing that through the advisor side. It's really, really important. So we have to understand what they're using and why they're using it and doing it. But even the older generation are becoming more and more familiar. So, it's widespread. If we look at ourselves as individuals, taking away, how many of us can truly say, yeah, I've started to use technology for my own benefit in different ways outside of my work? And I bet the bottom dollar is most of us are doing it. So why can't we embrace it in the work environment? There we go, you see. So why can't we do that in the work environment? Just accept that customers are moving on. We just have to go with it.
No, completely agree. Gosh, you're very intelligent, Mr. Belton. Very intelligent.
It's the sun. It must be the sun.
I could listen to you all day. So one last question from me. So what considerations should lenders be making to be able to adapt to the change in consumer behaviour?
I think there are a few things, Caroline. I think I'll take it back a step. Actually, I think at the moment, consumer demand is high. We know that. Okay, we know that lenders are struggling with the amount of business that's coming through. Lenders all want to lend more. Lenders have had to have their staff working from home, different environments, therefore potentially capacity is not there. I am hearing from some of lenders that actually they are now getting back to the levels of business they were hoping for the year. So actually that's a really, really positive sign. But we're seeing service stretch left, right and centre, from the large lenders through to the small lenders. A polite request for lenders from me is, if you need to pull products, can you please give us a bit more notice? Because actually, whilst I understand the service challenge for the broker community, for the lender community about actually dealing with that, it does actually leave the broker high and dry with a customer in some circumstances, and that's not really fair. But I do understand why we're doing this. But if I could just ask, actually, we do give brokers a bit more notice of pulling products and things, then that would be a great help. I think that the consumers are their thought process changed, but maybe we're in this bubble while the stamp duty is been suspended until end of March. Maybe we're just seeing an influx of people taking advantage because they see the cost saving. £15,000 on a loan of 500k. It's not to be sniffed at, is it?
No.
Whether you're doing a residential purchase, whether you're a landlord looking to expand your portfolio, or whether you're a first-time landlord, so we will see the return of the amateur as well. So it is adjusting to the criteria of what customer is actually coming out now. What are we seeing? Well, clearly the vanilla market is doing quite well. There's a lot of remortgage activity. Product transfers has been very, very strong through lockdown. But interestingly enough, whilst we saw a big increase in product transfers, we're now seeing the reverse. And actually, product transfers are now back to the level they were pre-COVID. Does that mean that brokers are not looking after their customers and ignoring those and actually going more after acquisition business? Possibly, possibly not. If they are, looking after the customer, fantastic, because they're remortgaging them and helping them. But if they're not, come on guys, we've got to step up. There are customers here that we could potentially be losing, and they are our lifeblood for the future. But the customer need is definitely changing. Our search through our smarter criteria system is definitely showing the need for defaults, whether they're satisfied or unsatisfied, CCJs and such like. There are a lot of customers out there that need that help and support in that market, and that's why we need more and more specialist lending to be available to deal with those. Definitely the buy-to-let market has become a lot stronger. There's more people looking, the inquiries for holiday lets, for Airbnb, for the first-time buyer, first-time landlord scenario. Expats, they're recognising the need that or the opportunity, to take advantage of the market. As we're seeing consumers potentially move from city locations to more rural locations to get that outdoor space that should we have to go through this again, they are prepared for. We're seeing more properties come on the market, more diversification of properties, rather than just relying on what's been a new build because the second-time movers haven't been able to go. We'll see that change. So that creates opportunities for new people where they want to invest or where they want to buy a property for themselves. So we will see consumers just think a bit more about what they want to do. And shared ownership has been huge. The activity in shared ownership has been absolutely massive. Holiday lets, it's just all of these things are areas that have always been there, but have probably never been so prevalent as they are now. And that's set to continue. The first-time buyer market is definitely the one to focus on for now. How long is it pent-up demand? How long will it go for? Will it be for the whole stamp duty period? Don't actually know. But that's where we're seeing the biggest thing. The amount of people who help to buy inquiries. We've got a timeline on help to buy. We know it's currently got to complete by the 31st of December. Will that stay? Will that remain? Will that change? Don't know. But actually, what is the optimum time that the customer has to actually submit business? Are we geared up as an industry to be able to deal with those and get those cases through to completion by that time? I think we will be. We've done spikes before. We can do spikes again. But it's, again, leading to that consumer behaviour. But we need help to buy in all sectors, not just in vanilla. We do need it in a specialist lending as well. So
we need lenders to clearly adapt and kind of embrace the new consumer, basically.
Yeah, I mean, listen to the tools that are out there. The Energy Smarter Criteria System's got a lot of data. Knowledge Bank got a lot of data. Criteria Hub's got a lot of data. It tells us what there's being searched for. Mortgage Brain East, there's a lot of data out there. Let's really understand what the data tells us and actually use it to actually match the customer trends. But we've got to move quickly. We can't be in a position where we go, that's a great idea, it's going to take me 6 months to develop it. It's what the customer wants today. And how quick can we actually do that? How quick can we adapt? How can lenders, brokers, distributors work in partnership to develop those propositions to actually meet the needs of today's customer?
No, completely agree. That's been brilliant. Thank you ever so much for all your time, Danny. Really appreciate it. I think I've certainly got some useful tips, and I'm sure all our viewers will have got the same. But can I also just say, in addition to this time today, I just want to say from Pepper Money, thank you very much for all the work that you do with us from Legal & General in the background to really support us create products and propositions that actually continue to seek to meet the evolving customers. So from me and Pepper Money, thank you very much for that. So your partnership with us is invaluable. So thank you very much for all your time, and look forward to speaking to you again soon. Bye for now.